is Friday, the 13th of March 2020. My name's Jonny Bradley, and this is the news. In today's show, we're going to be talking about the 2020 budget, how entrepreneurs' relief has been cut from 10 million to 1 million pounds. VAT on ebooks is gone. We will be talking about the plastic tax coming in April 2020, 22, and a 2% stamp duty for foreign buyers coming in 2021. Okay. This is a legitimate news show. This is what we do now. Welcome, everybody. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Today, we are going to be looking at the budget, the 2020 budget for the UK, which happened yesterday, which was the 12th of March. Scrap that, I lied. The budget was actually on Wednesday. It is the Friday the 13th of March. Of course, is extremely unlucky because we got some good things and we got some bad things. So I think we're going to be looking at 4 of the different things that was raised in the budget. We're not going to go through everything because first of all, I'm not knowledgeable on everything, but I picked out the things that I think will be relevant for you guys as entrepreneurs, budding entrepreneurs, and people that just want to make money. There's 4 things that I really want to be talking about today. There's entrepreneurs tax relief from 10 million to 1 million. We're going to be looking at VAT on ebooks, a plastic tax, and stamp duty, and then maybe some general economy stuff. So let's go in reverse order and talk about these. So basically, the budget is just telling us, it's the government telling us what the hell they're going to be doing basically for the year, and what they're going to be paying us and what we're going to be paying them. It's basically a big thing about tax. Now, there's a whole bunch in the budget, of course. Running a whole country, there's a lot of moving parts, but there's a few things that I wanted to pull out that I think will be valuable for you guys. Of course, I would highly recommend going and checking out the entire budget. I'll probably leave a couple of links in the description if you want to go and check this out yourself. I'd highly recommend that you go and do that to stay informed. So I'm going to be going in reverse order. We're going to go from the end back to the beginning. Okay, the first thing we're talking about is stamp duty. So stamp duty is a tax that you pay for literally no reason whatsoever. It's basically a tax to say, hey, you want to move house? Cool. We're just going to take a load of money from you. And that's basically what stamp duty is. I think the issue I and a lot of people have with stamp duty is that stamp duty was brought in to tax the very wealthy when they were buying, extremely expensive houses at the time. However, with house price increases, pretty much you can't buy a house without paying stamp duty, which means that the average person, the person that's maybe trying to get their first step on the property ladder, is having to pay stamp duty, which is not what it was for. And I think a lot of people were hoping that they were going to reduce stamp duty, and I think a lot of people were hoping that they would actually scrap stamp duty for some of the lower price houses for the budget 2020. I had a little brief look through. I don't believe they've done that. If they have done that, then this is a huge mistake and a really, really terrible video, terribly researched video. But I didn't see anything in there about it. Okay. And the reason why that would have been so good is that it means that people can get on the property ladder. It means that, for example, there's elderly people that are in big houses that maybe can't afford to heat all of their rooms, but they can't also afford to downsize because then they're going to be paying huge amounts of stamp duty. And they're like, we're not going to pay stamp duty because that's going to take loads of money, out of our pocket. Personally, I think stamp duty is just like the most ridiculous thing ever. Of course, it puts a lot of money into the government, and a huge amount of money is collected from that. I just don't feel that it's justified. I don't feel it's a justified tax. If I want to go and buy a house next door, why should the government get a huge percentage of that? I don't understand why they should. So regardless of that, anyway, that didn't happen. So yeah, it didn't happen. What has happened in regards to stamp duty is that it's going to be put a 2% stamp duty. So they're adding a 2% stamp duty for foreign investors starting April 2021. So that means that after April 2021, if you want to buy a house in the United Kingdom and you are not from the United Kingdom, you don't live here, then you're going to be paying an extra 2% stamp duty on the stamp duty that you would already pay. Of course, there's going to be probably big ramifications to that. I'm not an economist, so I don't know the ins and outs of it. But I would expect 2 things to happen. First of all, is that there is probably quite a big flurry of investors, overseas investors, buying properties up and from now until April 2021, so they don't have to pay the 2% stamp duty. So it could be good for the housing market up until that point. And then after April 2021, it means that it's just people going to be a little bit more cautious about buying property in the United Kingdom when they live abroad. But what it could mean is that there's more investment properties available for people that do live in the UK to actually buy those houses. So potentially it could be a good thing for UK residents. The next one I think is really, really cool. I do like this next initiative, and it's a plastic tax. Okay, I think we all want to try and be more environmentally friendly, and we want to be able to reduce the amount of plastic, particularly in packaging. And I think this is a really, really fantastic initiative. And what's happening is that there's going to be a plastic tax enforced from April 2022. And what it's going to mean that if you have packaging on your product and if it contains less than 30% recycled material, so if you have, like, of course, some things have to be plastic, and so if it contains less than 30% recycled material, then you will be paying a tax on that. And the way that's going to be done is that the government will be charging manufacturers and importers £200 per ton. Okay, so it's not really that much money when you probably put it into your own packaging for maybe for your Amazon products, but of course it'll add a huge amount of money into the UK economy and help reduce plastic waste, which is, I think, a very, very good thing. So how can this affect you? If you have plastic packaging that contains less than 30% recycled material, then there'll be an additional tax to pay. Now, of course, you have basically 2 years to be able to change your packaging. So if this is you, then I would look at ways to change your packaging to try and add more recyclable material, and you have to work out, is it more beneficial for you financially to do that, because it may cost a little bit more, it might not, or is it more beneficial for you to pay the tax? Now, I think even if it's a little bit more expensive to pay the tax, it might be a good idea to just be more environmentally friendly anyway. I think that's always a good thing, and if you can go totally 100% recyclable material, that's obviously going to be the best thing to do for any business, for any packaging. I think the more we can use recyclable material, the better. The next one I'm super excited about because I sell them, right? VAT on ebooks is gone. VAT on online publications is gone. And I think, again, that's a really, really, really good thing to get rid of the reading tax, because if you sell a book, okay, if you sell a book or you buy a book, then you're not paying VAT on that. So when I sell these books, then I don't pay VAT on the shipping, okay? It's a free book, so obviously I don't pay VAT on that. But on the shipping, I don't pay VAT because it's obviously part of the fulfillment costs. That's great, and that's there to obviously help people read more, make books more accessible, make them cheaper, whatever. And the problem is that ebooks, online publications, have been having to pay 20% VAT. And it doesn't make sense that the whole world is moving online and people are being penalized to try and reduce paper waste, to try and think more environmentally friendly and choose ebooks and PDFs over physical books. So the great thing is that 20% VAT is completely disappearing for ebooks, online publications, which will have massive effects, actually. Just in the NHS alone would save 55 million a year. 55 million a year, that's absolutely ridiculous. I think this is a big change, like a social movement where the government are kind of waking up to the fact that the digital, is the new physical. The only thing I don't agree with is the audiobooks aren't covered in that, which is a little bit weird. The reason I think that's maybe not right is that you think about accessibility, and a lot of people will be using e-readers maybe because they have braille readers, or they might use text to speech, or they have any visual impairment that stops them from being able to read it. So a lot of people in that position will listen to audiobooks, okay, because that's their way of being able to consume the content in the most efficient and pleasing way. But they're still going to be paying a 20% VAT on those audiobooks. And of course, a lot of people listen to audiobooks and podcasts that maybe don't have visual impairment or don't have any sort of issues with consuming written material. I just think that, if you're getting rid of VAT on ebooks and online publications, that should have been pushed forward to audiobooks as well. That's my personal opinion, and I think that was maybe there's a reason for that, but I don't think that's right, to be fair. However, of course, this is a step in the right direction, and hopefully maybe next year or at some point then the VAT on audiobooks will also be gone. So I sell ebooks at the moment, and I'm very happy that I'm not going to be paying VAT on those ebooks anymore, which would be great. So I think now all my training I put out is going to be in ebook form. Get rid of video content. because I don't want to pay VAT. Of course, I'm joking. I will continue to do my video content. Now, before we get to the big one, I believe to be the most crazy thing ever, other things to include: a system of high street businesses rates to be reviewed later this year. Obviously, a lot of high street shops are closing, which is good for people like myself and most of the people that subscribe to this channel because we sell online. However, governments can be looking into ways to reduce rates to make it more affordable for them and to give them more chances to succeed, which of course is a good thing. There's also firms eligible for small business rates relief will get a £3,000 grant. So that's really good for small businesses. Two things which I think was really interesting, which I think is complete the other way around. $5 billion to be spent on getting gigabit capable broadband in the hardest to reach places. I understand getting internet to the right places is really important, but only 900 million into research into nuclear fusion, space and electric vehicles. Of course, like, internet is important. People want to get the internet and fast internet. But I think if you're spending $5 billion on internet and not even 1/5 of that on the things like electric vehicles, space, nuclear fusion, I find those to be way more important to the future of our species. And they're getting a measly 900 million. So I think, of course, broadband is important, and I have good broadband, so I've got nothing to complain about. But I would much rather the government be able to allocate, a huge amount of money into the future, into electric vehicles, into the infrastructure behind that, and of course into space and energy production as well. Now, the last thing is, I think, probably one of the biggest things to come out of this from the entrepreneur standpoint is the entrepreneurs tax relief is going from 10 million down to 1 million. Entrepreneurs relief, what actually is it? In the United Kingdom, okay, I'm going to read this out. Entrepreneurs selling their businesses can claim entrepreneurs relief. This is a lifetime allowance of 1 million of gain that will be taxed at the reduced rate of 10%, which is basically means that if you're selling your business, if you're getting rid of it, then you're not having to pay huge amounts of capital gains tax, 40% or whatever. That's a reduced rate to 10%. Which is a good thing, which obviously means that the entrepreneurs can have exit strategies. They're more likely maybe to try and sell their business. To be eligible for this, then you must be a shareholder with at least a 5% stake in the business and be an employee or a director that's had at least 1 year tenure with the company. Scrapping this tax relief, reducing it from 10 million to 1 million, the government arguing that it will generate 2.7 billion that could be spent on the public sector. However, I would say that although of course it's going to bring a lot of money in because there's going to be this lower rate of tax relief, then entrepreneurs, they're going to look for other ways to do this, to lower their tax implications, right? For example, you could have 20 shareholders, each having 5% stake, and having a year tenure being an employee or a director, and then you can obviously, each person can have 1 million in 1 million lifetime tax relief, because this is a lot of money, right? For these types of businesses, they're not big businesses, right? They're not huge businesses, but they're a substantial size where these entrepreneurs have been working very, very hard to build these businesses, maybe for an exit strategy to sell, and they're going to be thinking, how can I get the most money back, right? How can I legally get the most amount of money back and not pay a huge amount of tax? As business owners, we're always trying to be as most tax efficient as possible. So entrepreneurs, business owners might be looking at ways to bring other people into their company, or it may be bring in family members and to then distribute their funds that way when they're selling the company or closing the company. So they don't have to pay a higher rate of tax. And as long as it's legal, as long as it's okay, people will do it. As an entrepreneur, as a business owner, having many friends as business owners, I can imagine, for me personally, this isn't something that I'm like, oh my God, yes, I get to pay more tax. Ooh, everyone loves paying tax a lot. It's, just like death, you can't escape it, right? Everyone's going to die. And unfortunately, everyone pays taxes. The other thing that I actually forgot to mention in here, which I will find it very quickly, which is very good. I think this is quite a good thing to do. There are some good things happening with emergency response, NHS, to do with coronavirus, which is cool. I'm glad they acted with urgency on those things. The other thing, the tax threshold for national insurance contributions is going to rise from £8,632 to £9,500. I think this is a really good thing. Of course, we want to put it up as much as possible. And I think the numbers on this, they said it'll take out about 500,000 employees out of tax altogether, which is wicked. And it'll probably make them about £85 a year better off. And that's not a huge amount of money, but for those people that are earning under £9,500, £9,500, then that is, that is a lot of money for those people. So I think that's a good thing. Of course, it means that it slightly lowers your tax implications. If you are a business owner, you're probably paying yourself a minimum wage, and you'll be able to up that to 9,500 to be able to get more tax-free income, basically. The other thing, which is, again, I think this should have been done a long time ago, is 5% VAT scrappage on sanitary products, which is known as the tampon tax. It makes absolutely no sense as to why there was ever a tax on that in the first place. So I'm glad that the government has finally woke up, to scrap the tax on something that should have never had tax in the first place. However, the saddest thing is when I read no other new announcement on income tax, national insurance, or VAT. So that made me very sad. I had a little cry, and then I recorded this video. And the last thing that I just want to talk about is general economy. So the economy is predicted to grow by 1.1% this year, which is revised down from 1.4%, and that's down. Okay, that's not good. That means that's the slowest rate of growth, I think, since 2009. Since 2009. And that doesn't show the impact of coronavirus as well, which will have probably a very huge economic effect. I think at the moment people are looking at coronavirus as a health pandemic, but I really think it's going to end up being an economic pandemic, and I believe many people believe this as well, because the ramifications are huge. It's like the butterfly effect of something happening here. So this company not being able to do it, the Geneva Motor Show not being able to go, that means all their supply chain don't make any money, all the hotels, all the flights don't make any money, and all the employees then might have to sack some employees because they can't be paid. And there are huge ramifications for that. So of course this 1.1% growth doesn't account for any issues that we have with coronavirus. So that, obviously, the jury's still out on that, and we will find out and see what happens. And that has been Friday the 13th of March 2020 news. My name is Jonny Bradley. Thank you for tuning in today. Have a great day.